Hello.
Welcome, everybody, to Church in Space.
Whoa, man.
False start.
It's recording so loud.
Oh,
It's the
Church in Space.
Well, welcome to Church in Space.
in 3D.
Hey, we are back.
Yeah.
Recording. Welcome, guys.
Yeah.
Haven't been here in a while. All right,
That
so
escape was pretty tough.
it was pretty hard.
My wrists are still chafing.
From the Shadow Bishop on New Augustana and everything, you know.
Finally catch your breath.
Right. Can
Yeah.
breathe out in the open. Don't have to worry about the dome's oxygen levels.
No.
Or
But-
Twinkies.
Which we didn't really worry about the dome's oxygen levels through
No,
most
we
of the
did
game
not.
anyway.
Yeah.
So-
So now we have to record the show at an ever-rotating mystery location.
I know, in an ever-rotating mystery location.
Lest the radical wing of the ELCA find us yet again.
Sub-basement E.
Darn it, now we gotta move again!
I didn't tell you which sub-basement E.
So we thought we would play a game. Our game is Are We Certain? Each of us has a Bible and a sci-fi Are We Certain about
I thought you were
something.
Just gonna leave it at are we certain? In
No.
which case I would say no.
No. So it's like,
Certain
are we
of-
certain something about this sci-fi property?
Okay.
You know, or that. Or are we certain about this Bible thing? Does that make sense?
Makes sense.
Okay. So I will start, and my Are We Certain is, are we certain Stranger Things won't just end up like Lost? And here's what I mean by this. Since this was my question,
Okay.
I will explain.
Okay.
Here's what I mean by this. I think I have post-traumatic stress disorder from Lost. You know?
As do 90% of its viewers. but
Right.
yes.
And like I'm always suspecting that some show's going to turn out as badly as it did.
Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. And see, that's the thing. It happens, right?
Yeah.
It does
Yeah.
happen. So, Lost spent 5 seasons building up, 5.5 seasons, in fact, building up this wonderful mythos
Mhm.
around this island, right? And there were a lot of wonderful mythic things about this island, and I was really into it, including into the final season, where it was like leaning really heavily into like the magical realism mythos thing. And then it all ended, spoiler alert, from a show from 15 years ago.
But it still haunts you. Yeah.
So, spoiler alert, it all ended on the incredibly obvious, oh yeah, you were in Purgatory the whole time, you know, which they ruled out like 3 seasons ago, but they took the really easy way out.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and like with Stranger Things, we have this wonderful show for, what is it, 4 seasons now? 4?
Sure.
Yes. 4 seasons. So like 4 seasons now, you know, and it's got this great mythos to it, right? Like all these great mythic things about it, which I'm all for. Sold me.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and yet, are we just going to get a really crappy wrap it all up in season whenever the last season is?
Yes.
Well,
yes.
this is
It's
true.
inevitable. I mean, when you have such good shows and they create such good expectation, you are bound to find bad television at the end.
Yeah.
Think of Friends. They just wrote a bunch of crap towards the end because they could. They haven't done that storyline yet. How I Met Your Mother is just terrible because of the last season.
Yeah.
Absolutely terrible.
even Seinfeld, you know,
Yeah.
the final episode.
Don't even get me started.
Yeah.
The final episode of Seinfeld. God. That episode, its problem is that it points out to you that all these characters are awful human beings.
Yeah.
And the show only works if you don't actually point out
That they're awful
that
human
they're
beings.
that they're all really awful human beings.
I think quite possibly the only major popular TV show in the history of television that actually had a great finale was Newhart.
Can't we say I like TNG's ending?
Yeah, it was good from I'll give you that
From a certain
plotting
point of view.
standpoint.
Yeah, from a certain point of view.
But it did
Wrap
wrap it up nicely by
Right. I think
referring
that's
right
still-
back to the opening episode.
Right,
And
and
so that
it's-
was good. It gave nice closure.
It's still one of the episodes. That 2-part episode does not inspire utter revulsion.
No.
You know.
And it is also another sign that it was a really good way to wrap the series.
Right.
Was the fact that they could revisit it in Picard's
Right.
season 2 finale.
Right.
And it worked.
It worked. It made sense.
Yeah. And so that does tell you that one did. So you're right. TNG and Newhart. And that's probably about it.
Kenobi.
The final
Or
episode.
is it over?
I don't think they're going to bring it back because how good it ended.
Yeah. Kenobi
like-
was a good ending.
Yes.
That's true. And now that we're in the streaming world, I don't think producers, directors have that compulsion now to keep things going. We got more of that British mindset of, well, I'm done telling the story, so the show's over. Sorry.
Yeah, let's just do 3 seasons, 20 episodes apiece.
Yeah.
And only 5 episodes a year, and that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we want to tell a really strong story.
Yeah, well, and you saw it even with Stranger Things, right? This most recent season where like some of those episodes were really like TV length movies, the final episode of this season was like an hour and a half, and it's like, we should have just called it a feature length movie.
Yeah.
So when do you think it will end? Do you think it'll end when like they graduate from college and become full on adults? Will the age of the main characters be the deciding factor?
I think it's gotta wrap up as they are going to college. The Dustin and Mike and 11 going off to college.
Yeah.
Part of it is that fun little like
The innocence of youth.
Yeah, right. They're the high schoolers, or at first they were the middle schoolers and the elementary school kids, like saving the world.
Yeah.
Did you ever watch the movie Brick? And Gordon Levitt is the noir detective, and he's like he's like this social outcast in high school who's like basically plays this Humphrey Bogart noir detective.
Oh, I've got to check that out.
It's a great movie, but it only works because they're all in high school.
High school, yeah.
Would be a really bad noir flick if they were all adults.
Yeah.
And so similar thing, I think here, that it only works. Supposedly they're all in high school, and as long as we can plausibly maintain that fiction,
It works.
it works.
Yeah.
So we're not certain, is what I'm hearing. There's a high degree of possibility that Stranger Things ends up like
Never tell me the odds.
Okay.
So yes, our answer is no.
Yeah, I think that'll be a shame though, because it's such a good show. All right, on to your question. Time for you to ask your question.
Are we certain that Mace Windu did not cause the fall of the Old Republic?
This comes from the Tales of the Jedi,
Mm-hmm.
thing that's been going on. And after that episode with Mace Windu in it, no, I am absolutely not certain.
And Dan's sitting over there like...
Or if I'm certain of anything,
No,
I'm certain that he might have caused the fall of the Republic.
From what I have seen already of Tales of the Jedi and Mace's ascension to the Council,
Yeah.
I'm with you.
Yes. Like that specifically.
Yeah.
Well, and like... That episode did a good job of like his rigid orthodoxy.
Yeah.
And that was the problem with the Jedi Order.
Mm-hmm.
And like I was actually talking with a friend just before this about this, and he said, well, that was always Mace's problem, right? He was so close to the dark side because he would practice that form of saber combat that was like almost Sith-like.
Yeah.
And like he was the only one who could do it. And so like he almost my friend pointed out, like he needs the rigors of orthodoxy in order to keep him on the light side. Like he needs to be that rigorous himself. He needs to be that calcified orthodoxy in order just to stay on the light side.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, that would be the flaw, but then you shouldn't put that guy in charge of your order.
No. Because in real life, leadership theory, front and center, resiliency is required. You got to be flexible and ever changing.
Yep.
Orthodoxy will always doom your organization.
Yeah.
But I mean, so he caused the fall of Dooku directly.
Yeah.
He probably did cause Anakin to go to the council chambers just because he said, we didn't trust you.
Yeah.
Like if he would have just like left it alone and said, okay, cool, we'll handle it.
Yeah.
Not like added that other line. Probably wouldn't have gone there and probably could have saved so many people's lives.
Right.
And come on, how could he not have force sensed how emo Anakin really is?
Because
all the Jedi made
well,
that
like
mistake.
he and the whole council, like Clone Wars shows, right? But like the whole mess with Ahsoka, like being falsely charged.
Yes.
Like
yeah.
That's him and the council. Clone Wars reveals how that really sets Anakin like in high suspicion of the Jedi, and then adding to that, right, that line about you will have won my trust. You kind of want to be like, you're the guys who nearly railroaded his Padawan. Like, he has to win your trust. Like,
let's look in a mirror, shall we?
Right. Like, let's look in a mirror here, people.
Because what was it? It was episode 2 in the gunship when they're talking about how Obi-Wan was talking to Mace and Yoda about Anakin being the chosen one, and Mace is just like, nope, not going to happen. Like, basically not under his watch.
Right. He's a badass, pardon my French.
Yes.
But like there are significant flaws as a leader.
Yes.
He was the wrong leader for this moment that the Jedi required.
Reminds me of Barty Crouch. not inherently bad, but let a whole lot of things slide by in order to maintain his power.
And maintain the status quo. You know, it's not just I don't think he was in it just for his own power, but I do think he thought the status quo was good, and that was his goal.
Yeah, it was his motivation.
You know, his motivation was just to keep things on an even keel, you know, and we have this guy who's the Force incarnate wandering around. You know, that guy's like anti-status quo by its very nature. You know?
And look through history and fiction, real history and fiction. It seems like every time in every culture, someone is some higher power incarnate. That's what they're all about, is rocking the status quo.
Right.
You know, globally, culture, all sorts of cultures.
Got Anakin, who's a cross between like Alexander the Great and Jesus, you know, and it's like that person is inherently not a status quo.
Right.
You know, like guy.
We can launch into the religious aspects right here if we want
Yeah,
to.
there we go.
But we need to put a disclaimer in there, though. This is not the fault of Samuel L. Jackson.
No. Does anyone on the planet think it could possibly be Samuel L. Jackson?
No. But he's kind of viewed as one and the same, so I kind of like want to separate that so he can come on the podcast and don't feel like
think a Samuel L. Jackson as Samuel L. Jackson Jedi would have been the mentor that Anakin actually needed.
Oh, yeah.
You know, somebody who was emotional and who was, you know, like, you know, screw the rules a little bit.
Right. Take no nonsense because we're the good
Honestly,
guys, damn it.
like in Anakin needed Qui-Gon to be his mentor, not Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, like he needed Qui-Gon's kind of sense of like, well, I'll follow the rules when I want to.
Right.
You know, and somebody to show him like,
but when the situation requires breaking the rules, I will break them.
I will break the rules and I don't care about the consequences and the council can go shove it. You know, like,
and Obi-Wan just learned that too late.
Yeah. Right. Oh, and the other thing, that scene, right, where it's like the council grants you the rank of master, or grants you on this council, but does not grant you the rank of master. You know, like that's another Mace Windu moment where it's like, you got to dig that knife in just a little bit further. Right. It's already embarrassing. Like, do you have to, you know,
or in this case, twist the lightsaber.
Yeah, right. You got to twist the lightsaber. Right. Anyway. Yeah. So he is flawed.
Yes.
Which makes him a good character, but he is flawed.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
All right, Dan, your turn. Your question.
Ooh, well then, mine is, are we certain that one of the core tenets of the Marvel universe, cinematic and comic book, is that there's something special about humans?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, relative to the cosmos.
Right.
You know, even all these cosmic powers all converge here. They all wanted to come to Earth and destroy Earth. We're this backwater planet on the fringes of the universe, of the galaxy.
Yep.
And yet all these races come here to take us over, invade, hijack humanity, enslave humanity, wipe out humanity. You know, it's never about coming outside of Galactus.
Yeah.
It's never about coming to exploit Earth's resources. You know, it's always
wiping
about
out the Earth,
wiping out humanity or taking us over. You know, Galactus comes and he's just like, yeah, I want to consume all the energy on the planet because I'm hungry.
Right.
But everybody else has some other motive. And it's like, why? What is so special? I mean, at one point, it's either the Kree or the Skrulls. I think it's the Kree. At one point in one of the comics, they're kind of explaining to Bruce Banner why they keep coming to Earth. And they finally actually say what's been under an undercurrent the whole time. There is something special about humanity, and we don't want you to rise above us as a result.
Yeah.
So let's wipe you out before you realize how special you are. And that remains an undercurrent, right? You
Right.
know, even in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Right.
They come here.
Right.
Well, have you seen the Eternals?
Haven't seen the Eternals yet.
Okay.
Now, I know the whole, but
you?
from the
not.
comics, I know the Celestial and the Inhuman play and all that stuff. I understand.
I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
Okay. Then I won't go there. The only other thing I can think of is just the amount of chaos on our planet versus literally every other planet in the universe. Like, that's what, quote unquote, makes us special.
We have the potential to cause all kinds of trouble.
I mean, yeah. I mean, we really do. If really the motto of the human race is "hold my beer."
Gets back to that joke. Yeah, the Star Trek.
Right, the Star Trek joke we had. Yeah, I mean, I think the Marvel Cinematic Universe has moved away a little bit from the, you know, like, because they did the Guardians of the Galaxy and Asgard, like, it almost makes Earth seem small. Like, there's a lot of action that takes away from Earth in the MCU.
Yeah.
You know?
But it still
I know
it still brings it back.
It centers it back.
You know,
to
like
Earth.
Asgard relocates to Earth.
Right. And that, so it's kind of got to, because, well, we're humans and we want it to be about us. But like the Guardians of the Galaxy movies do a good job, I think, of making Earth seem like small.
Maybe it is an afterthought after all.
Well, if not an afterthought, like not quite as big as everybody thinks it is. Little smaller than maybe all these people really think.
So maybe they'll finally leave us alone. So it may be we are just meat sacks with hubris.
Yeah, right. Ugly bags of mostly water.
Yeah.
As they say in Star Trek.
That just
right?
have egos.
Yeah, right.
We'll also look at like First Contact, like within the Federation, like they purposely leave planets alone or until they reach light travel. I feel like, all the other, alien races are like, just leave them alone, let them get to this point, except for the conquering ones, which want to conquer everything.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure the MCU's, either the MCU or just the comic book universe, like, is certain about this as they claim. Even, like, yes, everything keeps coming to Earth, but as I said, there's a whole lot that happens outside of Earth.
Well, our culture's also become a little more nihilistic, right? You know, when 30 years ago, there was a lot more optimism in American culture. And that may have reflected in Marvel Comics.
Yeah.
Right.
So, humans are special. And now maybe they're backing away from it because, like, oh, man, what a mess. Our planet may not even live another 20 years.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the Guardians of the Galaxy, the comic books. Like, they didn't even have a human until Peter Quill, and that was a couple of years into their run, right?
Yeah.
Like, look at the Nova Corps, like look at all that. Like, was it the 90s they had the whole bunch of space stuff?
Yeah.
Like
90s, I mean, even X-Men in the
80s
and 90s was Professor Xavier disappeared for a while because he was with a bunch of aliens and he and the alien queen were in love. And almost all the Marvel comics got very cosmic for a while.
Like Fantastic Four, is it the Negative Universe? Mm-hmm. Yeah, you got all that going on. Like 90s was very spacey.
Well, and you get Howard the Duck and Man-Thing kind of converts over. And even though there was a comedy undertone or overtone to Howard the Duck, Howard and Man-Thing were really, again, multi-dimensional, cosmic, played very, very heavily into it. And even Man-Thing was kind of setting the stage for our current nihilism because Man-Thing was not evil. Mm-hmm. You labeled a monster, but in reality, it was just anything that had fear would burn at his touch.
Yeah.
So if you had no fear,
you're fine.
You're fine.
Yeah.
And that was just his curse. He wasn't actually a monster. He wasn't like exploiting a power.
Yeah. It's just what he did.
Just, don't touch him if you have fear.
Yep.
So I think it's shifted. Humanity's role has shifted in the MCU.
Yeah.
We'll also think from the comics perspective, like more and more in thinking about it, how did 9/11 really dictate how comics were? Because after 9/11, almost everything was terrestrial based.
Yeah.
Like
a lot of stories changed. I mean, I always point out, you notice all the asteroid movies stopped after 9/11.
Yeah.
Like we had a run of asteroid movies and then
Well, and that makes sense because we suddenly realized the big danger is not out there. Yeah. The danger is us.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different dangers.
Yeah. So we got to pay attention to us now.
Yeah. Absolutely. So as we shift, because this is a religion and science fiction podcast, as we shift into religion, Dan, your question conveniently
applies to religion too.
So ask your question again.
My question is, are we certain that as Christianity posits, there is something special about humans?
Yeah. I would say yes, but with the possibility of a caveat.
Okay.
And special doesn't mean exclusive. I think we think of special as exclusive. There are these moments in the Old Testament, like Amos has this a lot. This is most in Amos. God kind of is like, well, don't be so confident in yourselves. You
hairless apes,
right? You little people of Israel, and one of the ways somewhere in the book Amos says something like, "I brought you out of Egypt. Did I also not bring up the Philistines out of wherever they came from, and the Ethiopians wherever they came from, and the Egyptians wherever they came from?" And the impulse is God's trying to say, don't be triumphalistic about it. Yes, you're my chosen people, but that doesn't mean you're the only people I work with. Don't be exclusive about it. And so I guess I would say, I think Scripture says, yes, there is something unique about humanity. God became human, but don't be exclusive or triumphal about it, because that's not what the intention is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
it's not about hubris because of this.
Yeah, right. Hubris is always like, there are times, there's these funny stories in the Old Testament where like the people of Israel think like the Ark of the Covenant is the thing that allows them to win battles and not God, and so they'll take the Ark out and then they lose the battle because God's like, it's not it's not the chest, guys. Right? Like, it's me. Hello.
Yeah. It's God's version of saying, what am I, chopped liver?
Yeah, right. Like the chest is not like the glowing battery is not the thing to be focusing on here. Like me, hello. Yeah, it's got some cool powers, but it's me, and it's a similar thing. And I would say you could probably posit a similar theory to God's relationship to us as a species. Like, yes, there's something special. Creation culminates on the creation of humanity in Genesis, and there's this essence in which humanity completes creation. Yes, but don't think that doesn't mean I don't work with the dolphins now and then, or something like that. Don't think that means you're the only one with my time.
Well, a lot of my question now is, and I didn't have it theologically this much in my youth because I didn't foreshadow the doom of Earth coming so soon. But as a species, we are ignoring that we're at the tipping point for climate change.
Yeah.
And if we don't pull back like now, not 10 years from now, but now within the next couple of years, we have doomed the planet and made it unlivable for humanity. So in the next couple of years, we may have set ourselves on an inextricable path to wiping out our species. Yeah. Would God, do you think, kind of say, well, that experiment failed, and start
we'll go with the dolphins.
Creating another? Yeah, go with the dolphins. Go with roaches. I mean, they're impervious to almost anything. But
have you read a Canticle for Leibowitz?
Yes.
Right. So it was written by a very Catholic author, and it's about this order of Catholic monks which try and preserve technology after a nuclear apocalypse.
Yeah.
The book ends on a second nuclear
war.
Like everybody nukes each other again. When they discover the technology.
It is a really good book. Highly.
It ends on this really weird. It's one of the weirdest scenes in science fiction where this mutant from like the radiation, she has two heads, and the Catholic priest has been basically buried under all this rubble. And the mutant survives, and the other head, which everybody thought was just useless, wakes up. And suddenly, the implication is that it's a new Eve, and it's without sin. And
it's no Zaphod Beeblebrox.
Yeah, and like the priest basically is like, I witnessed a miracle because I've seen whatever God was doing, something new has happened. And
that's the thing. Like, since we're kind of exploiting our special status and taking for granted, if we don't turn things around in the next couple of years, is there something else waiting in the wing?
So God promised, or we evolve, right? Scientific rational basis. There's been some studies about how like we've actually come in under UN projections in like from where we were supposed to be from like 10 years ago where they projected, so like, and there were more studies about how actually we're learning to decouple growth from, in every industrialized economy, growth has gone up and carbon emissions have gone down actually, and so like we're learning to decouple growth from carbon emissions. We're not quite where we need to be, but we're learning. And the initial projections have not come in as bad as where we kind of thought we were going to come in.
Yeah, but there are some, just to counter that, there are also some that were ahead of the curve, a curve we don't want to be ahead of.
Well, right, there's those tiered projections, right? And so that
like on things like the warming of ice caps and glaciers,
right?
Which then cascades into huge land areas that are going to be underwater.
Right.
Hi, Florida. You're going to be down to like 1 square mile.
I'm not saying buy beachfront property.
Yeah.
I'm buy shark repellent.
Yeah. Right. Invest in shark repellent. I guess I'm saying there's a case for very mild case of optimism, in the sense of not that things won't be rough, but we are learning to get where we need to go. theologically, I guess I hold two things confidently. The first is God has promised not to destroy the earth,
Yeah, but we're the ones doing it, not him.
Well,
So
yes.
technically, if the earth is destroyed, he didn't break his promise.
I know, but he's promised not to
Well, it's God work our hands. I mean,
save me. So I guess what I mean is God has promised that no matter how much we mess up, God won't smite us unto destruction to fix the problem, right? So that's part of what it's not just that God won't destroy the world, but that God's solution to the problem of us, which is a real problem.
That's what the last 15 minutes of discussion is.
Yeah, right. Yeah. God's solution to the problem of us, which is real and total, is never just blink us out. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so I hold that confidently one.
Okay.
I guess I hold confidently too that God doesn't break God's promises, even if we do, and you get this in different places. Like this is Paul's logic in Romans 11, actually, for why, he says all Israel will be saved in the end, as he says, it's because it's not because they all become Christian, but it's because God never breaks God's promise. And God says this in the Old Testament too. It's like, yeah, you've broken the promise. We heard it in the Jeremiah reading this past Sunday, on Reformation Sunday, actually, where God said, yeah, you broke your covenant, even though I was your husband. Like you initiated a divorce, basically. Yeah. But I am such a God that we're going to, I'm going to live up to my end of the bargain. And we're just going to start over. We're going to do new covenant, And so because of that, I hold confidently, despite all evidence, which is what faith is about sometimes, that it seems like the world's spinning out of control some days. And yet, God has promised these things to us, and God always keeps God's promise, even though we don't. And so, how that turns out is that big P word we call providence. And like, I'm not sure.
not the one in Rhode Island.
Yeah, right. Not Rhode Island, right. Yeah.
God has a Rhode Island accent.
Right.
Oh, that explains Peter Griffin.
It does. Right. And so that's a long way of saying I hold both those things as true. That he's promised, he has sworn not to solve the problem by winking us out. So no, like day the earth stood still style solution to the problem. And he keeps his promises. Yeah. And those two kind of lead me to say somehow, don't know how, doesn't mean things won't be rough. It's already rough, right? We already have strong hurricanes hitting places they don't usually hit in seasons.
Yeah, flooding in Pakistan.
Right, flooding in Pakistan. And, like, this is also kind of my problem with this discourse. Everybody goes, like, it will be a problem. I'm like, it is a problem. Like, we are in the problem.
Right, yeah. Just look around.
Right.
Yeah.
The problem is now, and it's not that all life has been snuffed out on Earth. I think that's, in some ways, I think that fear isn't helpful because it misses the scope of the problem.
Oh, yeah. Life will survive. Life is very tenacious, but it's the humans, whether it's hospitable for humans, that's the big question.
I even think humans will survive. I'll confidently put, I think, beyond God, I think humans will confidently survive. Humans are pretty resilient. We've endured many things.
Yeah. But where I see it getting complicated is we're also destroying our support structure. For example, honeybees. Yeah. We need honeybees to propagate the crops we need to eat to sustain our current population level. Yeah. As they disappear, it's going to be harder and harder to grow enough food to feed us all. Yeah. So that's why, some form of life will survive. I'm still not certain it's going to be humanity. I see your point.
Yeah. I guess I would just say, even then, like humans will figure out a way. Again, it doesn't mean millions won't die because millions are already dying, right? And so like I'm not ruling that part out. That's already happening, But
the actual extinction of us,
the extinction of the species, I would say that's we're pretty clever, Somebody will invent a drone, or
No, that's as much as Elon Musk is in the news for not so good things. That's a lot of his, if not all of his driving motivation. For SpaceX is really to get to a position where he can get colonies on Mars so that if we wipe out Earth, humanity is still alive somewhere else.
Right. And Right. And even in that case, I would say, the quantity of destruction we would have to do to make Earth less attractive than Mars, would be a lot more than even the worst climate projections.
Yeah. There's some beachfront property on Europa I've been eyeing.
Yeah, right. Right. And so that's all to say, not optimist, but hopeful. I'm not optimistic at all, but I am hopeful.
That's a good distinction. That's a good I can completely agree, even with my cynicism.
I have zero sense of optimism,
Yeah.
but I do have a lot of hope.
Okay.
And the hope is, even without religion, humans are pretty clever.
Yeah.
And we survived bottlenecks before. We'll survive again. And so, then the question is not, will humanity survive? Because I think that distracts us from the now problem, which is, there's flooding in Pakistan right now. And we had, a Category 4 hurricane run over the state of Florida and then go back and hit Carolina, now. And we have to invent new categories of tornadoes and, things like that.
Yeah.
And it's those are now problems, which we could address.
And drought problems. And
drought
we
problems.
can. And
Right.
that's really where it's in our hands. We have the capacity to fix all of this or to have solutions for all of this.
Yep.
But it does require a completely different mindset. It requires a mindset of, a prosperity mindset, right? An abundance mindset, because we have to be willing to accept we can give water to the West Coast, and it doesn't have to be about money. It's about doing what's right for humanity.
Right. And it requires, right.
So we have to get out of that money mindset that there's got to be a quid pro quo exchange for saving humanity.
And that's the biggest problem, is that right now humanity equals money.
Yeah. Yeah. So we've got the tech, we've got the knowledge, the know-how, the engineering prowess.
Yeah.
But we've got to get rid of that money mindset. So we're doing it because it saves lives.
Yep. Providence.
So building off of that, it also goes into my question.
All right. Here's Drew's question.
So are we certain that God didn't forget about us and also forget about us again?
Like an ADD god, basically.
Why, we established that. We did establish that.
Ooh, shiny new planet.
Shiny new planet. All right. I mean, this is a hard one for me, because there are places in Scripture which will say, and God remembered. The biggest one is Exodus, where it talks about how the people cry out, and then it goes, and then the ending line is, and then God remembered his covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And then the immediate thought that always pops in my head is, did he forget? Was it not was Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob not like a Post-it note on God's computer the whole time? And so there are places where it says things like that, and you're like, huh? What do you mean by that? I don't have a good answer. Or I don't have a one-shot answer, I guess. I have a answer that I can both confidently say that I think God never truly forgets, in the sense of, again, he never forgets his promises, right? I also will say I find that language comforting sometimes, because it's comforting to know that people sometimes are like, yeah, I feel forgotten, and there are times in my life where it's like, yeah, I kind of feel forgotten down here, God. You could show up anytime now. Thank you very much.
I mean, it's like, take our planet, for instance. It's like God put the planet on to boil and forgot.
Right.
Yeah. Left it on, and we're starting to boil.
Turn down the heat a little bit.
Right. To me, it's more like he left us unsupervised, and we tried to make our own dinner and left it on.
Well, and this is what...
Dan.
And there are whole psalms in the Bible that talk about, and they're called lament psalms, but they usually have a point in them where they always say something like, and remember me, O Lord, because, hey, I'm right here.
We're talking about Lamentations, right?
Right. Yeah. The whole book of Lamentations is this way, but there are whole psalms that are also this way. Psalm 22 we read on Good Friday is kind of a classic example of this. It starts off by saying, my God, why have you forsaken me? Why have you forgotten me? But it keeps saying in it over and over again, like, you could remember me anytime now. You know, like anytime now would be great. Like, I am here. Yeah, there are many strong bowls of Pashan surrounding me, and it would be good.
I can also remember the Family Guy. Mom, mommy, ma.
Yeah. Hi. Yeah, right. Yeah. It's a lot like that, right? And it's like, you could remember. And it is comforting to know that, well, I don't actually think that God forgets us, that people have felt that way. People have felt that way in their spirituality. And the Bible's solution to it is not to say, oh, that feeling's silly because theologically God never forgets. But the Bible's solution is, well, just tell God you want him to remember you. Harass him. Annoy him.
Why are you looking at me?
Are you pondering what I'm pondering?
Annoy him until he wakes up and does something about it, and that's the Bible's
It is our super.
Yeah, right. Pester the Lord Almighty until he wakes up and does something.
It just now sounds like a Monty Python.
Yeah. Yeah.
The whole purpose of religion is to pester deities.
Yeah, right. To pester the deity until he remembers his obligations, and but sometimes the Psalms sound that way. They're like, you promised this, oh Lord, get down here and fix the light bulb, And I take great comfort in people speak to God that way. So, yep. I actually think that's a good place to end. We got another question, but
well, I want to check. It was Drew's question. Are you satisfied?
Yes, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Well, folks, this has been Church in Space.
In 3D.
Oh, see, they got it. Took a little while, but we'll see you next week.
Hey, Dan.
Yeah, Drew.
Next week, please remember to bring a backup card.
From Hallmark with love.
Goodbye.